Oh,
Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lori and Hope, and we are here at the teacher's desk. And just a reminder that the thoughts and opinions expressed by us are those of us and our guests and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the school system and where we work. This is the teacher's desk where we come together and discuss issues that we personally deal with, and especially during these virtual times. Lori, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm doing okay.
Good,
I can't complain.
good,
How about
good.
yourself?
So, I just wanted to just reflect on the first quarter and just some things, some developments that have happened over the last couple of weeks. So my school system was going to phase the kids back into school.
Okay.
That was the decision that they made. They were going to go through for pre-K through 3 and 6th grade. And in doing so, they had some pushback from teachers, some parents that switched from their kids coming in person to staying virtual. So we were making plans. And then the couple days before the kids were supposed to come back, they put out a notice that said that teachers, they had so many teachers that put in sick excuses to be out for the rest of the year, they no longer were able to support those kids phasing back in. So the initial plan was for them to bring in subs to the teachers whose classes were at home teaching virtually all year, and the subs were monitored. So I don't know if that means they didn't have enough subs to cover it, or they just said so many people out they had to go back to the drawing board. I don't really know what that means because, of course, there were several teachers like me who were there and prepared for the kids to come.
Mhm.
So in a way, we feel like we got thrown under the bus by the school system, making it seem like it's our fault. So parents are up in arms, kids are upset, we are frustrated, and it has just been seemingly one thing after another as we continue this virtual learning.
So, did they give you a date to go back yet? Have they made plans on when you, or not go back, but when they're going to reevaluate your situation with your school system?
No, they haven't given us any dates. They haven't given us any indication. They did bring pre-K and kindergarten back.
Okay.
So I guess for now they're just going to go with that while they go back to the drawing board and decide what they're going to do. It would be nice if they would just allow us to continue virtual learning, at least for the second quarter, or at least until we come back from Christmas break. Because I think first quarter was tough enough, and I know that we will do another episode on reflection of first quarter and things that we've learned and things that we could do looking forward. But second quarter, now that we've got into the groove of it and the vibe, we kind of know what the expectations are. I think that second quarter will see some market improvement, but I know school systems are really hyped to get kids back in the classroom. And why is that? Why are these school systems in such a hurry to move these kids back into in-person learning? What do you think it is, Lori?
Well, I don't have an answer because our school system, our CEO was like, no, I'm not rushing back. We're going to stick with our initial date, which was January 29th. And I'm so happy that she's doing that. Um, just because of the simple fact that the holidays, people are going to be traveling.
Mm-hmm.
We have Thanksgiving, then we have Christmas, and then there's New Year's. So our date is January 29th. And actually, from what she discussed at the town hall meeting we had, is that she will reevaluate in December. She wants to look at numbers. She's going to listen to science. And I really totally respect that.
Yeah,
Um,
that is good leadership.
yeah,
I'm glad that you said that because one of the our school system put the announcement out on their Facebook page, and we've had a lot of parent feedback negative and positive. But one of the feedback that parents said was that at the school board meeting, because they had an emergency school board meeting,
Mm-hmm.
that teachers, wanted to address coming back. And she said that some of the teachers said, oh, they wanted to travel. We wanted to travel for the holiday, that they didn't want to go back because it was traveling time. So somebody had commented to that post that I think she misunderstood. But I think what you just said was much more relevant to what that teacher was probably talking about, that other families
Are
will
going
be
to travel.
traveling
Yeah.
for the holidays. And
Yeah.
as you have that traveling and moving around, then that has those germs and things coming back to school and causing more of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that you made that point, because I know that has been the point of some people. We just want to sit back and relax, and we don't want to go back to school. And,
No.
it's much more about the virus and the safety precautions
Yeah.
than
And
to go
what
back.
what people fail to realize is right now a lot of people, even myself, has COVID fatigue, right? So you have people that are like, I want to go somewhere. They're used to going to Thanksgiving at, in another state or another country to visit or whatever it may be, or Christmas. They're used to getting, that extra week and a half off and going away. So you have a lot of parents or people who want to travel right now. They really do.
Right,
They want to
right,
travel. They want to see their family. They haven't seen their family since March or before March.
right, right,
So yeah, that is a major concern. I think that's what I don't think mostly teachers. I'm thinking the families. Okay, especially like we have maybe we have a high Hispanic population, so
hmm
a lot of people want to go back to their countries and visit their families during the holiday because that's the culture, that's the norm.
right, right. I think you're right, and I think the fact that it's flu season.
Mhm,
And that is another big precaution,
mhm,
that, the traveling is flu season is coming
mhm,
up. And um, it's funny that you say, well, not funny, but interesting that we have all of these new terms, and that COVID fatigue is real.
mhm,
And
it
I
is.
think that COVID stress is just as real, because
Um,
with this time of getting the flu, getting sick, catching colds, allergies, like any little itch in my throat, any tiredness, any headache, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, is this a symptom? Is this, like, what is this? Is this COVID? Did I catch it from somebody? And
Don't let anyone sneeze or cough next to you either.
and I
Supermarket, that's it.
also had to really kind of put up with the stress about finding out that other people have COVID,
Right.
and having to come to terms with if it's okay that they tell people or not. Because
Mhm.
I feel like if you have COVID and know that you've been in contact with it, know that you've had it or have it, you should at least tell people, because people may look at their symptoms differently. People may think that, even if you think in your mind it's been long enough and I can no longer infect people, I wasn't around you within a time frame. I think that you should still tell people, and I think it's a lot of stigma surrounding, and people don't want people to know, or people thinking that people will look at them differently, and they are not revealing those. And I think that was one of the big drawbacks of the plan to return, is that nurses have said that they will not tell teachers if kids have COVID. They will not notify you if kids in your class have COVID. They will tell the kid that they need to stay home and quarantine for 10 days. They are not requiring them to go to the doctor and get any kind of doctor's note. They can come back after those 10 days, and as far as you know, they were just out sick with any other illness, because they are not putting that stigma on people that you have COVID.
Hmm.
I think that whole attitude has kind of been prevalent in people not saying, I have COVID, you might have been had COVID because you're around me. So it's kind of like we weren't 6 feet apart, but at some point we walked through the same door, we used the same bathroom, we, like, all of these things. I'm like, are people taking it seriously? I don't know if people are still taking it seriously. So
It's funny you said that because what people fail to realize is that COVID is novice and they're still learning things day by day. Things are changing on a regular basis. My main concern, though, when you said that, it came back to that thing I was saying all the way from when we first started this. My concern is that a lot of times students come sick to my classroom with a fever, which means that they're contagious. Or and
Mhm.
their parents know. They said my mother put me on the bus, and I'm like, what? They knew you were sick, and they
Right.
sent you to school. So I'm thinking, okay, if your child is sick with the flu or a stomach virus or something that you know that is contagious, and you are sending them to school, what makes you think that they won't send their child to school if their child has COVID? That's my thing.
Right, right,
Okay. And
right,
then what is the school going to put in place for that? How are you
right.
going to deal with that? Now you're telling me about confidentiality, which I mean, I totally respect that, as far as the nurse, having that right to keep that private.
And the
But
HIPAA
then,
laws.
huh?
I say and the HIPAA laws, so I
Okay,
can't
medical
tell
laws,
them
right?
it. Yep.
Right. But my thing is, what about me? What about us? What about the teachers who have to hold? And what about the other kids in the other classroom? Okay.
Hmm.
It's not fair to all these people. It's just too many factors. Too many.
Right. It's too many factors. And I think that for the most part, my school system did have a plan and a pretty good one as far as safety precautions with what they provided in the classroom. They did provide each classroom with a purifier
Mhm.
and
That's good.
high grade, purifier. They have little plastic dividers for each desk, which
Okay.
I mean they're not the best quality, but there's
But
something.
that it's just a start. It's a start.
They provided us with
Is
this.
there one around your desk?
No, we
Like at the
didn't.
bank
We
or like
didn't.
at
No, but I did take the floors to. They did. One of the things that I was upset that they took away my lab tables, and I'm a science person, so I'm like,
yeah,
what?
you need
They
the
gave me that, so that was a drawback. But I was able to box off each desk to make sure that they were apart. They gave us hand sanitizer.
so wait a minute. They took away your lab tables. What did they put in place of that
They
desk?
gave us the regular desk that
A
with the
single
chair
one?
attached to
Mhm.
it because it's a smaller you know, I was gonna have up to 14 kids in the class.
Okay.
One of the things that school systems are now saying that 3 feet is the norm that kids have to be apart, which is crazy to me because to me
Everywhere else is six, right?
starting with 6 feet, and from then the CDC has now said 16 feet. So where school systems are getting is 3 feet. I think it's something that they're pulling out of the air to say how many let's fit more kids into a space.
Of course.
So now they're making it seem like, oh, as long as they keep their mask on and they're 3 feet apart, but they are failing to realize things like kids having to eat lunch in the classroom, kids having to eat breakfast now in the classroom. So there are going to be times where kids have their mask off.
So a question. So my question to you is, I have like a million questions I'm writing down as you're talking because I want to like make sure I hit everything. So, seating arrangements, that's a big thing when you're a teacher. Like, and then also grouping. Okay, so like with
Yeah.
science, you have to work in pairs or in groups to do experiments. So how's that going to work in your classroom?
Well, all seats have to be facing the same way. They have to be facing forward.
Forward.
So there will be no grouping, no collaboration.
Mhm.
Kids cannot share lab supplies, so we must have enough for each kid to do their own lab.
Do you have enough?
A problem because now you're talking about even though class size was I was about to have maybe about 14 kids per class.
Uh-huh.
So you're not talking about all you need is 14 beakers. Now I need 28 beakers because I have a class
Mhm.
right afterwards that has to do it, and I don't have time to clean these beakers and sanitize them so that the next class can use them. So
Not only that, what if you need multiple beakers for
I
an
need to go
experiment?
through a whole day of 3 classes of 14 kids.
Oh my goodness.
So now you're talking about 42 beakers. So while it seems like, oh, where the class size is smaller, so they can do their own because you don't need as many, when you start to think about the logistics of the quick turnaround and how am I going to be able to clean and sanitize and have things together for the next class coming in. And as a teacher, these are things that we deal with in planning but it's just another layer that people don't think about.
Mm-mm-mm.
So that type of collaboration, I really think that parents, really feel like, oh, my kid needs to get back to some normalcy and come back to school. But really, it's going to be anything but normal. Kids
Yeah.
will not have a chance to socialize. They will not have a chance to talk to their people. They said that they were going to try to rotate kids into the cafeteria just so those teachers that have a lunch class could kind of have a break. It was going to work out to maybe a class getting in there every 4 days and only two kids to a cafeteria table because
Mm-mm-mm.
they have to be facing the same way. They have to be 12 feet apart in the cafeteria. So for some reason in the cafeteria, when you eat, you got to be 12 foot apart. In the classroom, when you eat, you only got to be 3 foot apart. So
Mm-hmm.
things like that just is kind of a red flag to those of us who are
Yes.
teachers and are hearing it differently. If you're in a district office, you're like, oh, this makes perfect sense. We providing all of this stuff. And then they were saying that the kids had to wipe down the desk and dividers and all of that stuff. Now, when is the last time you know of a child that has been very thorough and wiping something down when they were just trying to speed and get through? Some kids will. Some kids will wipe down and ask for another and get up under the crack. Some kids are just going to wipe it real quick and move on about their business. So it's definitely, I can see it from both standpoints, of these teachers that have been getting the flack for putting in their requests. I can see that now they like, wait a minute, am I being able, I know one or two that had to just ask themselves because they have kids that have medical issues. Is it worth it? Because you trying to rush to come back. So that doesn't give me confidence that you are going to have everything you say you're going to have in place.
I have the thing about going back. I mean, whatever decision is made, of course, is a decision that they decide to make. But my thing is that we start off the school year one way. It took us approximately, I'm gonna say myself, I'm not gonna say everyone, I'm gonna say myself. I say we started like in August, the end of August. It took us approximately maybe a full month or maybe I'm gonna say 3 weeks to a month to actually get this whole thing almost there, like halfway there. And I think now we are in second quarter. Um, we know what we have to do because we know what we did. We reflected on first quarter, and now we're like, okay, these are the things that we need to work on for second quarter, and we're
Mm-hmm.
working on that in distance learning model, not being in a school building or whatever. And then we finally are gonna get it. Like I think not want to say down packed, but we finally get a routine. The kids get used to a certain way, and then you're going to say, we need to change it. We're going to change it. And then there's a lot of issues because even myself and my husband, we were talking about things like what if the kids go back to school? Okay, we have one child in elementary school, we got one child in high school, they're going to be on different rotation. How would that, what would that look like? Somebody would have to be home for my elementary school child, do you know what I'm saying, not my high school,
Mm-hmm.
and they probably won't be home the same time, they'll probably go on different days. And it's like the whole system that we've already started off the school year with is now changed, and that's
Mm-hmm.
going to cause another confusion, and that's going to take another 3 to 4 weeks to prepare. So I mean, I don't know, it's just like so many issues with going back. Don't get me wrong, because at days a lot of times I'm sitting, I'm like, I just want to go back, I can't do this. But
Right.
there's a lot of days I have that I'm like, but this is the right thing to do. This is what, looking at science, looking at how people are getting sick, we need to be here. But I don't know, like as far as routine, and I guess because the teacher and me, because we're very routine people, teachers,
Mm-hmm.
we try to have things in order. I didn't really notice that until distance learning, how routine teachers are, and how we are, so we want things a certain way, and
Mm-hmm.
when it's not that way, we go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness,
Yeah.
like the whole world is gonna end. And I had to I don't see that, like I can't envision it. I don't know how
Yeah,
to go
yeah. I think that it was, and I kept giving the analogy that somebody, I feel like somebody gave me a table and just had a whole bunch of junk on it. said, organize this junk.
Yes.
And then as soon as I got it organized the way I wanted it to, they
Knocked it
flipped
down.
the table over and threw another thing of junk on it and said, man, do it all over again. So I did feel that way. I definitely feel you. And I think that the school system had a plan. Now, was it the best plan? We can all pick holes in the plan and say, this not gonna work, and this is not gonna be good, and this and that. But what I realized, and I didn't quite realize it until after they said that we weren't going back, is that a lot of the anxiety I have around the kids coming back is not going to be solved until the kids come back. Because until then, I'm like, well, what about this? Or what about this? Should I let them go to the bathroom? Who's going to be in the bathroom? Are they going to do this? What about eating lunch? How is it going to be? Are they going to wipe stuff down? So all of those anxieties and things that we have about the kids coming back and how is it going to go is not going to be resolved until the kids come back, because it's only then is that I can put a strategy in place
Mm.
to happen. Up till now, it's just what I think is going to happen. And quite frankly, it's the worst case scenario of what I've had to put up with kids. The kids could come back and be right on top of it and be like, oh, no, I need my mask on all the time. They can. And I'm thinking, oh, they not going to want to wear their mask. And this is
Well,
that.
it's the same thing like distance learning, though. Hope when we was getting ready to start, we had the same
You
people had
have
the
the same
same anxiety. We were
you
like,
have the same anxiety. And we change based
how's this
on,
gonna work?
yeah, we change based on what we have. And that is a good. So I'm glad we're gonna get into that in our next video on reflections of first quarter,
Yep.
because as we talk about the changes that we made to keep up with virtual learning, I realized we couldn't have done that until we got into virtual learning. And the same thing is when the kids come back. I cannot really fully relax and say this is how it's going to be, and these are the things that I need to get put in place to make myself feel more comfortable until they actually come back and I see how it's going to be. How are the administration going to respond? How is the nurse going to respond? Because to be quite honest, I don't have the biggest faith in school nurses because they are limited in what they can do. Not that I don't think that they are capable and provide a good service, but I think that in many points they are limited in what they can do. And sometimes kids are sick and they send them back to class. And they're like, well, some kids are faking, and we kind of got to err on the side of you faking before we send. So I'm thinking, if kids come down there with COVID symptoms and you saying that they just saying it to get out of class, or, they're lying because they don't want to be at school, and you sending them back and you're not saying who has it, I'm just kind of leery in the trust level of if the notification and all of that stuff, how is that going to go?
I don't know what to say either.
Yeah.
I guess we just have
So
to wait and see.
we just have to wait and see, and as we wait and see, we will continue to come back and talk over it and
Yeah.
discuss the points and the stressors of it. So we thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Teacher's Desk, uh, and we look forward to hearing your feedback.
Yes.
Thank
And
you. Good night.
good night.